Imagine a major legacy automaker suddenly shutting down production on the most popular, flashy sports car in the world. I mean, a car that everyone is just absolutely obsessed with.
Right, the one that's on every magazine cover.
Exactly. And they shut it down just so they can pull all their top engineers off the line to build a commercial tractor engine.
You would think management had completely lost their minds.
Yeah, you really would. But right now, the hottest artificial intelligence company on the planet is making exactly that kind of pivot.
It's pretty wild to watch.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are thrilled you could join us because our mission today is to cut through the massive amount of noise in the tech world.
And there is a lot of noise right now.
Oh, tons. We're examining a really fascinating stack of excerpts from a recent tech briefing from Kinsoft. Specifically, their Tech Talks update dated March 30th, 2026.
Yeah, because we are just constantly bombarded with these loud, shiny headlines, like a massive cyber heist claim or some wildly entertaining new app, right?
Right, and all our attention instantly goes there.
Exactly. It's the ultimate distraction factor. So the overarching theme we really need to pull from this Kinsoft briefing is, well, the illusion of the flashy versus the stark reality of infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack this starting with that automaker analogy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because one of the most surprising shifts in the Kinsoft briefing is about OpenAI shutting down its standalone Sora video app.
Which is huge.
It is. For those of you who might not follow the day-to-day product cycles, this was built up as this, TikTok-style app designed to generate these hyper-realistic, mind-bending videos for consumers.
It was definitely the shiny sports car of the tech world.
Right, and they're killing it. I mean, instead of focusing on entertaining consumer video feeds, they're taking all of that immense computing power and redirecting it.
Toward world simulation and robotics research, which...
Wait, why walk away from a consumer app that generates that much hype? It just seems counterintuitive.
Because, well, the hype is kind of a dead end compared to the actual goal.
Okay, how so?
Well, Kinsoft's analysis points out that when a company with that much momentum actively chooses to kill a viral consumer product, it reveals their true endgame.
Which is what, exactly?
The future of AI for these massive players isn't in entertaining us with endless streams of generated content. I mean, it isn't what Kinsoft calls a novelty feed.
Okay.
The real prize is in developing agents, AI that can actually interact with and manipulate the physical world.
So generating a photorealistic video of like a cat riding a skateboard on Mars is a fun parlor trick, but it's ultimately just pixels on a screen.
Exactly. It doesn't fold your laundry.
Right. It doesn't pack a box in a warehouse, and it doesn't drive a delivery truck.
And to do any of those physical tasks, an AI agent needs to really understand how the physical world actually works.
Which is incredibly complicated.
Super complicated. And this is where we have to look at what it means to redirect compute.
Compute being the raw processing power, right?
Yeah, the incredibly expensive silicon brains of these operations. Up until now, these video generation models were basically learning how things looked.
Okay, making things pretty.
Right. But when you ask an AI to generate a video of, say, a glass falling off a table, to make it look realistic, the model essentially has to teach itself the concept of gravity.
Oh, wow. I never really thought about it like that.
Yeah, it has to learn that glass shatters, not bounces. It has to deeply understand spatial awareness and object permanence.
So wait, they're taking the software engine that used to just draw pretty pictures, and they're leveraging the underlying logic to build a massive physics engine.
That's exactly it. They're using video generation as a backdoor to simulate physical reality.
Which is exactly what you need to teach a robot how to navigate our world without crashing into one.
Precisely. That is the pivotal transition here. They're moving from generating fun videos to modeling physical reality for robotics.
That's a massive leap.
It is a fundamental shift from being, a consumer entertainment provider to building the foundational intelligence that will drive physical machines.
So what does this all actually mean for the industry?
Well, think about the scale of it.
Does this imply OpenAI is essentially trying to become the underlying operating system for the physical world?
I mean, that's certainly what it looks like.
Because if you hold the keys to the foundational intelligence running commercial robotics, you aren't just a tech company anymore. You're foundational infrastructure.
You become the bedrock of the physical economy.
Right.
And the moment a tech company transitions from providing software to acting as foundational infrastructure, the rules of the game just change completely.
The scrutiny skyrockets, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. Which actually leads perfectly into another major friction point the Kinsoft briefing highlights. But this one is regarding digital infrastructure.
Yeah, let's look at the facts laid out in the update about that. So, a federal judge recently ruled that the Defense Department, the Pentagon, likely could not brand the AI company Anthropic a supply chain risk.
Which is a huge development.
It is. The judge went so far as to call the Pentagon's move probable unlawful retaliation for Anthropic's dissent.
Yeah.
And just to ground this for you listening, we need to be really clear here. Our goal today isn't to play judge and jury on who is right between the Pentagon and a major AI developer.
Right. We're remaining strictly neutral on the politics of this.
100%. We're just digging into the Kinsoft briefing to look purely at the mechanics of this dispute.
Because the legal precedent it sets for how governments and tech companies interact is just massive.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? When we think of a supply chain, we usually think of, like, cargo ships stacked with containers.
Or a factory churning out microchips.
Right. Or a fleet of delivery trucks.
Yeah.
How does an AI software company even become categorized as a supply chain risk to the United States military in the first place?
Well, the mechanics are what make this so revealing. To really understand this dispute, we have to completely redefine what a supply chain actually is in 2026.
Okay, redefine it how?
A digital supply chain isn't about physical goods anymore. It's about the code, the algorithms, and the data processing frameworks that modern organizations fundamentally depend on to function.
So it's the invisible scaffolding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about what a modern military requires today. They need advanced AI models to process massive amounts of raw intelligence, right?
Right.
And to optimize global logistics networks and manage real-time cyber defenses. AI companies have basically become the sole suppliers of the raw cognitive material that runs modern institutions.
Code is the new steel.
Code is absolutely the new steel.
But unlike a steel mill, which just melts iron and ships it out no questions asked, an AI company has its own internal culture.
Yeah, they have ethical guidelines, employee pushback.
And as the briefing calls it, dissent. So you have this intense friction. The military needs absolute compliance and total reliability from its supply chain. But the supplier, the AI company, might decide that certain military applications violate their terms of service.
Or their ethical boundaries, yeah.
So when that tech company pushes back, how does a massive government entity respond?
Well, in this specific case, the Pentagon attempted to label them a supply chain risk.
Which is a heavy label to throw around.
Very heavy. The implication is that if a supplier might cut you off because of an ethical disagreement, well, that supplier is a risk to your operational readiness.
So you label them a risk to effectively cut them out of the infrastructure entirely and find someone more compliant.
That's the idea. But then the federal judge steps in and hits the brakes.
Calling it probable unlawful retaliation.
Exactly. Which sets a fascinating boundary. It essentially says the government can't just weaponize a national security label to punish a tech company for having a dissenting voice.
It really forces a highly complex relationship, doesn't it?
Oh, incredibly complex. Our most critical defense systems are increasingly reliant on private tech companies. But those private companies are not silent, obedient factories.
They are independent entities with their own agendas.
Right. So navigating that digital supply chain is becoming just as complex legally and politically as it is technologically.
It proves that the vulnerabilities in our digital infrastructure aren't just technical. They're deeply human and bureaucratic.
Yeah, it's a massive legal standoff over theoretical risks in these high-level supply chains.
But, the irony here is incredibly thick.
Oh, the irony is the best part.
Because while the Pentagon and Anthropic are fighting it out in federal court over what constitutes a theoretical supply chain risk, the Kinsoft briefing points out that actual supply chains are actively bleeding data.
Yeah, specifically the mundane third-party vendors.
Right. We are entirely distracted by the theoretical legal battles of the titans while the house is quietly being robbed through the back door.
It is the illusion of the flashy versus the reality of infrastructure all over again. Kinsoft actually uses the cybersecurity events of the week to provide, a masterclass in distinguishing between the noise we panic about and the reality we should actually be securing.
Okay, so let's start with the noise. The loud, flashy headline of the week.
The big, scary one.
Yeah. According to the briefing, a pro-Iran hacktivist group claimed they stole a staggering 375 terabytes of data from Lockheed Martin.
Supposedly including blueprints for the F-35 fighter jet.
Right, and they demanded a massive ransom. And again, for you listening, looking purely at the mechanics of cyberclaims rather than the geopolitical actors involved, this sounds like a terrifying Hollywood-level crisis.
It sounds totally terrifying. But Kinsoft slaps a giant flashing warning sign on this.
What kind of warning?
They state really clearly that this is an unverified claim, and they emphasize that these specific types of hacktivist groups routinely exaggerate or just outright fabricate their triumphs.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like a bank robber standing in the middle of the town square, screaming that they just stole the gold reserves from the federal vault.
Yeah, and everyone completely panics.
The news vans show up, the stock market twitches. But in reality, someone just quietly picks the lock on the bank manager's personal gym locker.
That analogy hits the underlying strategy perfectly.
The claim is entirely designed to cause psychological chaos, not to reflect reality.
Right. Let's actually look at the logistics of their claim for a second. Exfiltrating 375 terabytes of data is not like slipping a flash drive into your pocket.
No, that is a truly astronomical amount of data.
It is the equivalent of downloading nearly 100,000 high-definition movies.
Wow. Over a secure corporate network.
Yeah. You cannot pull that much data out of a highly secure defense contractors network without lighting up every security dashboard like a Christmas tree.
It would take massive bandwidth and significant time.
Exactly. So the mechanics of the hack itself make the claim highly improbable.
The attackers know that simply saying they have F-35 blueprints creates the illusion of total dominance.
They weaponize the novelty feed against us.
Which is terrifying in its own way.
It is. Kinsoft uses this to hammer home a vital lesson, though. You must calmly assess the logistics of a leaked claim before reacting.
Right, because if an organization panics, shuts down systems, or engages with the attackers based purely on a boast,
they are playing directly into the attacker's hands. The goal was disruption, and the victim just provided it themselves.
But we can't just ignore security altogether, because, well, everyone is staring at the town square, listening to the guy screaming about 375 terabytes of stolen gold.
The real thieves are busy elsewhere.
Exactly. The Kinsoft briefing lists 3 concrete, verified breaches that happened quietly elsewhere, and none of them look like a cinematic heist.
No, they are remarkably, almost embarrassingly mundane.
Let's run through them. First, the FBI director's personal email was reportedly hacked and leaked.
Second, the massive anime streaming platform Crunchyroll was breached.
Cool.
Crucially, not through their main servers, but through a third-party support provider.
And third, a French education ministry system exposing personal data of hundreds of thousands of staff members.
The pattern there is just undeniable.
We spend so much time terrified of someone hacking the mainframe of a defense contractor through a sheer brute force algorithm.
Right. But the verified breaches show that high-profile targets are almost never compromised through a frontal assault on their strongest defenses.
Attackers are incredibly pragmatic, aren't they?
Highly pragmatic. Kinsoft identifies this pattern as targeting soft targets.
Why spend months trying to break through a military-grade firewall when you can just find a side door that someone left unlocked?
A side door like a personal email account.
Right. You could have the most impenetrable classified government network in the world. But if the director of the FBI is checking a personal, less secure email account on their smartphone,
that becomes the weak link. The attacker doesn't need to break into the FBI servers.
they just need to trick someone into clicking a phishing link on their personal webmail.
Exactly. And the exact same logic applies to the Crunchyroll breach, which is really the ultimate real-world example of the supply chain risk we were discussing earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
Crunchyroll undoubtedly has incredibly robust security for their core streaming technology and their user database.
Sure, they have to.
But a massive company can't build every single tool from scratch. They hire third-party support providers to handle customer service tickets or manage internal HR portals.
And those third-party providers become the soft target.
Precisely. If an attacker knows Crunchyroll is a fortress, they don't attack the fortress. They go look at the IT ticketing software Crunchyroll buys from a smaller vendor.
And if that smaller vendor has weak security, the hackers break into the vendor and just walk right through the established, trusted connection directly into Crunchyroll's data.
Yeah. The third-party provider is the unglamorous, boring supply chain.
It really doesn't make for a sexy headline, does it?
No, but it is devastatingly effective. This is why the theoretical legal battle between the Pentagon and Anthropic is so critical.
Right, because as organizations rely on increasingly complex webs of third-party software, from IT ticketing all the way to advanced AI cognitive engines, those connections become the primary vector for attack.
It constantly comes back to the overarching theme from the Kinsoft briefing.
We get terrified of the unverified 375 terabyte hack of fighter jet blueprints.
We get completely distracted by the novelty feed.
But the actual damage, the real loss of data, is happening because a third-party vendor forgot to patch their software.
Or a high-ranking official reused a weak password on their personal email.
It's the boring, everyday infrastructure that is crumbling while we stare at the shiny objects.
You really have to separate the verified mechanics from the loud claims. Ignoring the noise and focusing relentlessly on those soft targets, the personal accounts and the third-party providers, is honestly the only way to actually secure a network.
It requires a massive shift in perspective, but I think it brings us to a really clear synthesis of everything we've explored in this deep dive.
Yeah, I agree.
Today, the Kinsoft briefing showed us a technology landscape that is rapidly shedding the flashy in favor of the foundational.
We saw OpenAI killing a viral consumer video app to redirect their massive computing power.
Right, aiming it towards simulating the physical world, paving the way for advanced robotics.
And we saw the intense precedent-setting legal friction between AI companies and the government over what actually constitutes a digital supply chain risk.
Exactly. And in the trenches of cybersecurity, we learned that the genuine threats aren't the headline-grabbing, unverified heists.
They're the quiet, mundane vulnerabilities hiding in our personal devices and our third-party vendors.
The true shape of the tech world really is found in the infrastructure.
It absolutely is.
And so, the practical takeaway for you, the listener, comes straight from the sign-off of the Kinsoft update. Stay patched. Stay skeptical.
That's the golden rule.
When you hear a terrifying leak claim or see a massive headline designed to induce panic, take a breath and look for the verification.
Assess the actual mechanics.
Don't let the noise distract you from securing the everyday infrastructure that actually runs your life.
But, connecting all of these threads does leave us with a rather profound paradox.
Oh, what's that?
Well, today we learned that AI is pivoting away from consumer toys to actively simulate and manage our physical reality.
Right.
And simultaneously, we saw that our mundane third-party supply chains, the everyday vendors we rely on, are our absolute biggest security vulnerabilities.
Yeah, the soft targets.
So it raises a critical question for you to think about moving forward. As AI agents become advanced enough to seamlessly integrate into our complex business networks and manage our physical logistics, will these AI agents be the ultimate solution to finally securing our messy, human error-prone supply chains? Or will turning over our critical infrastructure to opaque AI agents become the most dangerous third-party vulnerability we have ever created?
Wow. Will the ultimate fix just become the ultimate soft target?
Exactly.
That is a truly fascinating and slightly terrifying thought to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay patched, stay skeptical, and we will catch you next time.